everybody, welcome back to Taji's World of Books and welcome to another book series recommendation video. Hey you guys, welcome back. And so I have moved on from the Brutal Birthright series, which is the first generation in the world that Sophie Lark has created of mafia romances, and I have moved on to the second generation, and this is the Kingmaker series. And so let me first say that I absolutely love these covers. There's so much that I love about these series. The Brutal Birthright series was really good and I really enjoyed it, but I am in love with the Kingmaker series, okay? I'm loving it. So let me first start off by talking about the covers. I love that this is highlighted in neon. It's beautiful. I love the gentleman that they have selected in this particular book. And this is, my goodness, this book is so good. Now, first of all, let me say that I really like that in each, in the beginning, we get the family tree, right, of the Gallows, the Griffins, and then the Yenin. And it is, I mean, it's absolutely amazing, okay? So this first book, and it seems like it was originally going to be called The Freshman, but then she changed the title to The Heir, okay? And how it's divided, so all of the children of the first generation are cousins, if you will, and brothers and sisters and cousins. And so they have been, of their year, they have been selected to go to this Kingmaker's University. I don't even remember the name of the Kingmaker's University, but they have been selected to go to this school. And I believe it's somewhere in the Czech Republic, I believe. That might not be right, but think of it like Hogwarts. They have gone off to Hogwarts to become schooled in the arts of being gangsters, to learn the ways of the trade. And so in Dubrovnik, and it's called Kingmaker's Academy. It gives you all the rules and expectations of how you are to comport yourself as a student at Kingmaker's University. And so in this year, going to Kingmaker, and then they give you, this is Hogwarts. This is Kingmaker's Academy, where they're going off in Dubrovnik. Okay, so how it works is each class has different types of students. They have the Kingmakers, they have the spies, they have the accountants, the people that are going to be the financiers of the mafia, they have the muscle, like the guys that are going to be the enforcers. So, and you are basically put in with your group. And so Leo Gallo, who is the hero in this story, Leo Gallo is put in the Kingmakers class, and he is best friends with Anna Wilk. And Anna is the daughter of Nessa and Miko. And then Leo is the son of Sebastian and Yelena. And if you remember, Yelena and Nessa are pregnant at the same time together, and their firstborn are Leo and Anna, so they grew up together. So Sebastian and Miko basically took over the running of the Chicago outfit with Nero. Everybody else is off doing their own things. So these two have grown up together for sure. And so they both are put into the Kingmaker's class. Now, also remember that Yelena had a twin brother named Adrian, who was very severely burned and in the last book of the first generation in the Brutal Birthright. And so there is a rivalry that exists between Yelena and Adriana, who are twins, but they have now been separated. Adrian marries his nurse, who took care of him in the hospital, named Rose, right? And they have a son named Dean. So Dean is now at Kingmaker's University with Leo and Anna, okay? and he is also put in the Kingmaker's class. They all know each other. They all know the rivalry that exists. They've never met before. They meet for the first time. You also meet a whole other cast of characters and a host of people from various different places. And so they're all there taking classes, learning to be the top of their trade. And if you were in the Kingmaker's class, you are set to be a boss. You are an alpha, you are a dominant, and you are learning how to lead your group of people and the people that you are going to ultimately control. So if that's going to be for Leo Gallo, if that's going to be Chicago, if he's going to be the head capo, if he's going to be the head boss, then he needs to learn how to be the head boss. So they're all rivaling, fighting for that head position of captain of the freshman class. And so they are put through several different trials and several different situations that they have to plan, think ahead, and lead their freshman team to win against other classes, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And so that's how the story really is set up. And then they also have to figure out the dynamics between being a freshman in a new school and dating and dynamics. So Dean has decided that he hates Leo, who is his cousin. He hates Leo, and he is going to do everything in his power to upstage Leo and take anything away from Leo that he can and destroy him at all costs. And that's ultimately what happens. And this is full of teenage angst. It is a love triangle situation between Anna, Dean, and Leo. It is angsty, it is frustrating, it is beautiful, it is riveting, it is a page turner. There are so many different circumstances. It's much more angsty, and it's also forced proximity because they're all forced to be together in Dubrovnik at university, living on campus, eating in the same, dorm rooms, or, living in the same dorm rooms, eating at the same cafeteria. I'm not quite going to say it's a bully romance because it's not set in high school, but it has that feel because they're all stuck on this university campus. They can't leave. They only have limited phone access. They have very limited internet access, and they are forced to study, and they're forced to watch each other, figure out each other's weaknesses. They're pushing each other's buttons and trying to develop allegiances. They're trying to develop friendships. Enemies are being formed. Old rivalries are being worked out whilst they're learning the history of Capo di Giudi Capo, which is like boss of all boss, like La Cosa Nostra, if you're in the Italian mafia, and you've got people from all over the world. You've got the French syndicate, you've got the Russians, of course, you've got the Italians, you've got the Irish, you've got, people from Greece, you've got the Yakuza, you've got people from all over the world that represents the most feared gangsters in the world that are here. So you're going to have hierarchies that are going to exist between wealthy and not so wealthy, between lineage and, non-lineage, and where everybody stands. And if you're an elitist versus, are you an enforcer, and what that all means. I absolutely love the world that she built in this. I love the story that she built in this. I love the dynamics between the characters. I loved seeing underdogs versus top dogs. I love the challenges that they were put into, having to solve puzzles, having to work together, having to show physical strength versus, acuity versus mental stimulation, working on projects, what that all meant. I loved how she worked out the dynamic between Anna and Leo. Like, I just loved this, I'm telling you, I loved even more than Bloody Heart and Stolen Heir. Like, this rises to the occasion of, like, my all-time favorites in here. I really, really loved it. It was just so good. And I think the angst is what brought another level. Their level of sophistication, because, they're 18 years old, right? So these are their first time relationships and first time romances, and the first time being in like a serious situation. I loved it nonetheless. I absolutely loved the choices that they made, how they went about things, making mistakes, figuring out their mistakes, learning about loss, and growing. And the character arc and development that occurred with these characters in here was fabulous, and point on. So points to Sophie for doing that. So good. 5 out of 5 stars. If you have not read The Heir, and I cannot wait till the audiobooks come out because I read this with Alexa on Kindle. But once the audiobooks come out, I will go back and reread this again because I absolutely love this book. So the next book in the series is The Rebel, and The Rebel is going to be about Miles, and Miles is the son of he's part of the Griffin lineage. And so he is the son of Gallo, Ada Gallo, and Callum Griffin. He is the firstborn son of that Griffin dynasty. And so remember, like, you know, Callum is like the mayor of Chicago, and he started off as alderman and like worked his way up. And then he's got the Italian lineage, so he's the cousin to Leo. So they all know each other. They've all grown up together. But there's another character that has come into play who is betrothed or is in a marriage contract with a prince. His last name is Prince, with a prince, and this prince is a monster, and he is the typical, like, what you would expect of a Bratva, evil, like, no soul, and she is locked into this marriage contract, and it just seems like she is terrified. She is a softer character. She's trying to escape this evil monster. He does things to her in this book that you are just like, you're a pig and you're disgusting. And I hope she gets away from you. And her father is equally as disgusting as her betrothed is. And they have sort of come together to make her life miserable. And so that's what The Rebel is about. And so we're getting ready to start that today. And I'm super excited about that. So let's hop over to that next clip so I can tell you my thoughts on The Rebel. There we go. Hey, so I just want to hop on really quickly, as I told you, and I'm going to give you a review of Sophie Lark's The Rebel. This is the second book in the Kingmaker series. And you guys, let me first start off by saying, as I have my coffee, have your cake and keto. I love it. I got this out of my Keto Chow subscription box, monthly subscription box. So for those of you guys that don't know, I've been keto like for 5 years or something like that, and that is what saved my life and my protein coffee. Okay, so now let me say the Kingmaker series is amazing. I love it even more, if that's even possible, than the Brood of Birthright series. Okay, this series has everything that I love in romance. It has angst. It has a cast of characters that are all together, that are friends, that you see different points of view from those characters. So you'd have different chapters that are dedicated from their point of view, so you get to see what's going on the campus and around the university. You have forced proximity, but it's forced proximity in that they're forced to be together because they are sent off to this, you know, Hogwarts or Kingmaker Academy to learn the trade that they're all in. Okay, I'll put the book over there for you. To learn the trade that they're all in. They are not allowed to have phones or any connection with the outside world. Phone calls to their family, loved one, and friends, or whatever, outside of the university only occur on Sundays. So they really are reliant upon the people that they are with, right, to develop relationships, forge respect. You know, like I said, they practice and they participate in challenges. Now, before I think I made a little bit of a mistake when I talked about the Heir. So I want to talk about the 4 divisions. So the 4 divisions are the spies, the heirs, the enforcers, and the accountants. The spies are exactly what you think, like espionage, computer technology and intelligence and those kind of things, and they're kind of shady, and people sort of are looking over their shoulder at the spies, because the spies are going to be the ones that are going to be like infiltrating your group and whatever, and stealing trade secrets and doing all that kind of stuff. The heirs are exactly what we said they are. The heirs are going to be the future Patkas and the future bosses of the families. The enforcers are the muscle, right? They're coming in and they're going to take you out, like they're the Iceman for sure. And then the accountants handle the financial aspect of the family and making sure that the money is coming in and it's all accounted for and laundered and those kind of things. So they're taking those kinds of courses throughout to make sure that they are learning that trade, to make sure that all is well. So in this book, The Rebel, the cast of characters that we have are Zoe, Rocco Prince, Kat, and Miles. Miles is a Griffin, right? And they also update the family tree here for the 3 main families that we sort of pay attention to in this series. So Miles is a Griffin, and Zoe and Kat are sisters, and Zoe is in a marriage contract with Rico Prince. And so for whatever reason, she catches Miles' attention. Now, again, going back to what I said, like everything that I love in a series. So you've got Rocco Prince, who is a total monster. He is a disgusting human being. He's a sadist. He likes to hurt people, and he does some really disgusting things to Zoe, who is like the sweetest person on the planet. He does some really, really disgusting things because he looks at it like, you are my property and I can do whatever the hell I want to you. And Zoe is like, he loves it because she fights against him, right? And she's like, no, you can't. You're not going to do whatever you want to me. And he's like, yeah, I'll show you. So they're at a party at her parents' house, which is their engagement party. And you find that Zoe's father is a jerk, and her stepmother is even worse. And her stepmother basically is like waxing her and, you know, preparing her within an inch of her life. And she's like, I'm not going to sleep with Rocco because I'm not married. And she's like, you will do what you're told to do. And so to make a long story short, she meets Rocco at the engagement party, and he is the jerk that we've known him to be, that we saw him to be in the Heir, the first book. He's turned out to be even worse. And there's a scene in that very beginning pages when he drags her off and he has her in an alleyway and he grabs her and he spits in her mouth. And she is so repulsed that she vomits all over the sidewalk. And I think because she vomited and did all of that's the only reason why he didn't assault her. He is a disgusting human being. And so you're like, your emotions are charged and you're so upset and you're so like whatever. So they get to campus, you know, some months later, a little time jump, they get to campus, and and then Rocco makes a deal with Zoe's father to keep Zoe in line, and he basically lies to her father and says, you know, she seems out of sorts and she seems really lonely and she's not interacting with people and I just think something's wrong. And Zoe's father says, you know what, you're right. I think that what we need to do is we're going to send her little sister, who is very weak, very small and easily intimidated. She's planning to go to art school. She is like looking to be like, you know, to step away from the family business, and they ruin it. And they say, you're going to Kingmaker's Academy. And Zoe is like, oh my God, I'm screwed. I have to make sure my sister is safe. I have to take care of her. I have to keep her away from Rocco. And I know Rocco is going to use her against me to, you know, to keep me in line. Like, what am I going to do? And so that's exactly what happens. And so they get to the university, and Rocco and his henchmen and his goons, right, his lackeys, corner Zoe, and something happens and Miles is there. And the story sort of evolves from there. And I absolutely loved this book. It's a 5 out of 5 star, absolutely hands down. You get to see Dean, you get to see Leo from book 1, The Heir, so that is not done. That is still evolving. Some drama goes down in this book with Dean as well, and you see what happens with Zoe and Miles. You get to hear Miles' backstory, because you know Miles in The Heir didn't really take anything seriously, and he's like off doing his thing, and he's like making his hustles and making money and, you know, throwing parties and being a promoter of like events and like just doing his thing. But you get to hear his backstory, and you get to hear what Miles is willing to do. And this is an amazing freaking book. Like the way that Sophie wove this tale and put it all together for us and put it in this beautiful package. And I love the cover and I love the neon sign. All of this is absolutely amazing. So I gave this a 5 out of 5 star. So the next book that I'm going to read is Ivan, and that is from the Underworld series. And I'm reading these books in this order because it was recommended to me by Jen at the Book Refuge, and she is a wonderful, wonderful human being. If you guys don't know Jen, or you guys are not on her channel, she's really a beautiful individual, and I think that you should go and check her out. But she shared with me the suggested reading order that Sophie and Mr. Lark gave her, and so thank you, Jen, for doing that. So she shared this with me and said, if you want to have the best reading experience, here's the order that you should read these books in. Now, people can do whatever they choose to, right? Like you can read all of the Kingmaker series in order if you want, and then go to the Underworld. You can do whatever you want, but I like to have the best reading experience possible, and so that was shared with me, and so I'd like to put that to you guys as well. So I'm going to go and read Ivan, and then I believe the next book is Snow. Those are two really shorter books, so I think I'm going to be able to read those real quick together, and that'll be what I review in the next clip. So we're gonna hop over there, and I'll see you in a minute. Hi, so I want to hop on and really quickly talk about Ivan. This is the first book in the Underworld series that is, I have not yet figured out how it's connected to the Kingmaker series, but my understanding is that I'm supposed to read this next. So I think I need to get through the whole all of the books, and then I'm going to go back and kind of report on how they're all connected. But Ivan is the first book in this series, and it comes after the Rebel, right? So it goes the Rebel, then Ivan, then Snow, then we go back to the Kingmaker series, Bully, and I need to get through all of those, and then I'll be able to see how they're all connected. Okay, so Ivan is part of the Russian Bratva, and the book starts off, okay, so let me say this. The heroes in this story are already like super alpha dudes, right? The women are definitely fierce. It is sexy time. It's hot. You know, there's definitely lots of thieves, mafia princesses, the Bratva, like, you know, family connections, so on and so forth. And so Ivan is very close to his brother Dominic, and they are running a syndicate in the Bratva, and this is set in a part of Russia that's outside of Moscow. Don't remember which part. And Sloane is raised by her father, who is an ex-CIA agent who has clearly gone mentally insane as a result of the kind of work that he does. So he's become very paranoid and increasingly strange and odd in his behavior. But he has raised her to be a fierce warrior and an operative and a CIA agent and somebody that is tactical and has lots of skills. So as a result, what is she going to do with those skills but grow up to be a mercenary and grow up to be someone who basically takes contract hits for money? And so that's exactly what happened. You don't know who the person who's hiring you, it's done through IP addresses, and it keeps the person who's hiring and the person who's the broker are not known to you. It's all done in secret. So through IP addresses, Sloane gets this contract to kill Ivan, and she goes out to do that work, and she's, you know, stakes him out. She finds out all about him, and she discovers the best way, and she's like, look, I'm a female, I'm not as strong as him, but I am crafty and I am highly trained, and I'm gonna have to take him out in a specific way, because if it comes down to hand-to-hand combat with him, it's not gonna go over well for me. So I'm gonna avoid that at all costs. And so she crafts a plan, and she goes in to take down Ivan. And it wouldn't be a book if she killed him, so she doesn't. She's not successful in her plan, and he takes her captive. And of course, she is attracted to him, and he is attracted to her, and the story unfolds from there. And so there is lots of sexy time. There's definitely some spanking that goes on in here. There's an instant connection between these two. They are equally matched, and you know, the circumstances sort of evolve from there, and they develop a trust and a respect and a friendship and a commitment, and they go after the bad guys together. And it's a very interesting story. So I like how she crafted the tale. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5 star, maybe in a 3.75. I'm not as invested. I guess I just coming off the heels of the Rebel. Like, I just love the Kingmaker series so much. Like, for me and my taste, I think the Kingmakers is like right up there. So when I come off of that and I come to this, I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's like not quite as exciting for me, or it's not quite as riveting, and it doesn't have all those angsty points that I want. You know, I want a little bit of angst. I don't want crazy angst, but I want enough, and this doesn't have enough angst in it for me. It kind of felt a little bit insta-lovey to me. Not like, it is definitely, it's dark, it's a captive, right? Like, but they hop right into, like, you know, intimate situations when he's extracting information, and he uses sex to extract information. And I'm cool with it, but at the same time, like, for me to suspend disbelief and be really into the story, it was a little instant for me. So I just wasn't feeling it quite that much. But the next book in the series is Snow. So I'm going to go over and read Snow, and then I'm going to come back and hop on and tell you what I think about that. See you over there. Hi, you guys. So notice, because I was like pushing my head back, my hair is sticking up. All right, so I just finished Snow, and this is Sophie Lark's second book in the Underworld series as it connects to the Kingmaker series. And this story is about Snow and Sasha, and I absolutely loved it. And I have a theory I think Ivan, the previous book, is a very good book, and I think it weaves a really complex tale between the characters, Sloane and Ivan, in that story. However, what I think is happening is I have a hangover effect. I'm very susceptible to this idea. So I finished The Rebel, which I absolutely love the Kingmaker series. Like, it's probably one of my all-time favorites at this point. So I finished the Kingmaker series, or I finished The Bully in the Kingmaker series, loved it, was crazy excited to go into the next book, and had to change course to read Ivan. And Ivan is the first book in the Underworld series, and it's a whole different cast of characters, and it has a completely different dynamic. And so I think what happened is that I had a hangover effect, and so I was like, oh, it's not the next book in the Kingmaker series, so it's not quite as good. So I said to Jen, I was like, I bet you if I read Snow, I'm probably going to like Snow more than Ivan. And sure enough, I absolutely did. And it is a story of an underdog. It's about an underground fighting ring that is run by the Russian Bratva in St. Petersburg. And Sasha is a medical student. She has just graduated from medical school, and she comes home to start doing her residency. And she learns that her family's business is now in major jeopardy. She notices some things about her father right away, that he's got a completely different vehicle that's really run down. His normally well-kept appearance is very bedraggled and disheveled. And so there's some signs that something is going on. When she walks into her parents' restaurant that's normally pristine and well-kept, is very, there's stains on the tables, servers that they've had forever and ever are gone. And so to make a long story short, she basically confronts her father and she's like, what's going on? I can tell that there's something up. What's going on? And he discloses that the family business is in jeopardy and they're in debt of something like 90 million ruble to the Bratva. And she learns that this occurs because her mother's extravagant spending habits, as well as her father's inability to tell her mother, who is like a Russian princess, no, we can't afford that. And so she gets them in a tremendous amount of debt. And so her father says, there's no way that I could ever pay off all of the debt that I owe the Bratva. So to make a long story short, she goes to Krupin, who is the Bratva boss that all this money is owed to, and she basically sells herself. And she says, I have just graduated from medical school. I could be of use to you. I could really help you. And so he does the calculations, and he's like, fine. He's like, the average emergency medicine doctor in Moscow makes about 50,000 rubles a month. And so you will be in indentured servitude to me for 20 years. And, your father will sell his restaurant to me and he will continue to run it, but it will be serving all of the Bratva. And so her life begins as such, and it's a horrible, horrible existence. So to make a long story short, she then, because she is serving the fighting ring, she meets Snow, who is like a big hulking beast of a man. And their relationship is beautiful and wonderful and so sweet and so loving. And there is another character named Stepano, whom, is doing business with Krupin, and they make a deal behind the scenes because Stepanov is very taken by Sasha and wants her, clearly, because she's so innocent. She's this porcelain white skin. Her hair is almost white blonde. It's like silver. She's very well, she's like this, built like, a Greek goddess in this time when skinny is all in. So she has curves and she's just gorgeous. And so Stepanov has taken a liking to her. And so he makes a deal with Krupin that he's going to sell her virginity to him, to help pay off the debt. And Snow is like, come hell or high water, is that going to happen? That absolutely is not going to happen. Regardless of what you say or what you do, she is mine. I have claimed her. I have marked her. She belongs to me. And so again, these are these incredible alpha heroes that are gentle giants to the women that they love, and these really fierce and feisty and strong women. And so Sasha is very different than Sloane. Sloane we met with Ivan, right? Sloane is Ivan's match in every way. Whereas Sasha is the brains behind the operation, and she's very meek and mild, but she's fierce and she's strong, but she does it in an elegant and graceful way. And one of the things that Snow says about her is, how can this aristocrat, this prince, this Russian princess, whom comes from, I'm used to being with like bar sluts and whores, you know, how can this person be attracted to me or be with me? Like, I can tell by the friends that she hangs out with and how she carries herself. I'm a gutter rat and she is a goddess, but she loves him nonetheless, and they love each other fiercely and unconditionally. And it is an absolutely beautiful story. I absolutely loved it in so many ways. I gave it a 5 out of 5 star for sure. And at the end of this book, and I haven't given away really any spoilers, but at the end of this book, it does tell you that Snow is going to come up in the Kingmaker series. So from my understanding, you absolutely have to, if you want to get the best reading experience and you want to really understand the Kingmaker story and what's going on with the Kingmakers, you needed to read Ivan and Snow to get that dynamic. Now we can go into the Bully and read the Bully and see what's going on with Dean and Kat and get that whole story and see how Snow is going to come into play and how the story is going to unfold, because it's all a tapestry, right? It's all like woven together. So I have talked a lot. So now I'm going to dive into the Bully, and I'm going to hop over in a minute and tell you my thoughts about that. I'll see you over there. Hi, so I promised you I would hop on and talk about the next book in the series, The Bully. You guys, oh my gosh, like this book, I absolutely loved. The Bully is the 3rd book in the Kingmaker series. I loved it so much. You know, I'm a sucker for a huge character arc. We've been hearing about Dean since book 1. Dean is the cousin of Leo Gallo. Leo Gallo's mother was the twin brother to Dean's father. And we saw all the way back in the Brutal Birthright series, the last book in the series, that something happened between Leo Gallo and Adrian Yenin's father, right? There was a whole situation that went down, go back and read that, that caused a long-term feud between the cousins. They've never met. However, they know each other, they know their family history, they know what went down. When they get to Kingmaker's Academy, Dean is frustrated and angry and really upset around the circumstances of their birth, their circumstances around their family situation, and he looks at Leo like, you had everything that I should have had. I should have had your life. If it was not for your father, Sebastian Gallo, I would have had a better life. I would have had the girl, I would have had the money, I would have had the prestige, and I have nothing. I have a father that is scarred and broken and is severely damaged. My mother left us. He's just bitter and full of resentment, rage, and anger. So, and that's how he comes into the Kingmaker Academy. And so we hear about him in every book moving forward. We know in the first book, the Heir, we see that this is where Leo and Dean's sort of dynamic really come to a head with Anna. And that book ends the way that it does, and then we move forward and we continue to see Dean, and finally Dean gets his book, and this book starts off with a bang, okay? So we know in the previous book that at the end of the semester, basically, and this is a spoiler alert, at the end of The Rebel, Dean comes into contact with Kat, and Kat is the sister, the younger sister of Zoe. And Kat does something, gets herself in trouble, and Dean finds out about it, and Dean is like, your ass is mine. Next semester, you belong to me. And Kat is like, oh, shit. And we start off from the beginning of the book where Dean is like, you were going to be my slave for a month. And he's like, and you will do what I tell you, when I tell you, how I tell you. And he's like, and there's no backing down unless you want your secret to be revealed. And it is on from there. And let me just say, I love everything about this book. I love the dynamic between Kat and Dean. I love this book is so damn spicy and so damn steamy that it is like shocking. It is so good. And the angst between the characters. I also love, and remember I had said, I'll tell you why in a minute, that you need to read the Underworld, the first 2 books in the Underworld series to know what's going on. Because when you jump into this book, then we are introduced to Snow. And Snow occurs, we learn about Snow in the 2nd book of the Underworld series. And Snow, while he's not in the Bratva, it takes place in St. Petersburg and he's Bratva adjacent, okay, if that makes sense. So do yourself a favor and read The Rebel and then read Ivan and Snow and then come back and read this book, and everything is going to make sense because you hear a lot about characters from those first two books in here. And then you continue on with the Kingmaker series, and then we jump into the Underworld series from there. And so let me talk about Kat. Kat is brilliant, intelligent, feisty, small package. You think that Kat is weak, and Kat like appears weak, and it appears like she does it like that she's timid and she's small in stature and that she's not bringing a lot to the table. Kat is a spy. Kat is like the bone collector. She is watching everybody. She's collecting secrets. She's figuring, she's connecting dots. She does not miss a damn trick. She sees everything and she puts it away, and she might not recognize that this is something that's going to be relevant or something that she needs to pay attention to, but she registers it and then she comes back to that tidbit later. Also, I love an underdog story. And so Snow is a fighter, and Snow has come up through the ranks and worked really hard. And he is a world champion boxer, and he sees that, and remember, Dean has a history of boxing in Moscow and in St. Petersburg. And so because Snow sees something in Dean, he takes Dean under his wing and he basically mentors him. And I love the mentorship component that comes up in this book. I also love that you get to see Snow and his significant other. So if you've read that book, you want to hear what's going on with them. So that's fabulous. You also get to hear about all the other characters in previous books that are sort of mentioned in here as well. And so that's really nice to hear what's going on with Miles and Zoe, or what's going on with Leo and Anna. And so you hear like all of those dynamics. And so again, you have a cast of characters, you have a challenge, challenges that they have to meet. You see them growing together as family, as well as friends, as well as individuals, right? You also, there's an underlying plot that's building to a crescendo that I know is going to come to a head in The Spy. And so you're getting pieces of information that's building to a greater story that you want to pay attention to. So not only is like each book now, so in the Kingmaker series, I'm going to say that this is not meant to be read as standalones. You really do need to read everything in succession to know what's going on and to follow the story and to have the greatest reading experience. Whereas in the Brutal Birthright series, technically, you could read those as individual standalones. I wouldn't recommend it because I think that the best reading experience is always to read books in order, always to read the series as a whole, and to walk away with a total world, like a total experience that you've gotten into in that world, and you walk away like so fulfilled and feeling like amazing and like, oh my God, I like just dove in and that was like the best dip ever. So I have to tell you, like Sophie Lark, and Jen reminded me that Sophie Lark has only been writing for 2 years, and the fact that she's only been writing for 2 years and that she's coming out with these type of masterpieces is amazing and wonderful. Like, she is a really talented artist, because this is, like I say, a tapestry that she's woven in this world, and I absolutely love it. And I cannot say enough that the Kingmaker series has everything in a series that I love. It has all the angst, it has the romance, it has the spice, it has the intrigue, it has the backstabbing, it has the fighting, it has the cast of characters, it has like an ongoing plot and a subplot. It just is everything. It's everything. It's absolutely a superb, superb series. Dean's story, Dean is my favorite character in all of the books so far. He has the greatest arc. He has the greatest development. I'm so happy how his story winds up. I'm so happy about his love interest. Everything is perfectly suited and as it should be. And newfound family, like it's just fabulous. I cannot recommend it enough. If you have not jumped on this, what are you doing? Do yourself a favor for the holiday season, get a fire going, put holiday cheer skiing scene on your TV that you could pull off Amazon or YouTube, and curl up on your couch and dive right on into this beauty, because it is so, so, so good. And so now we're going to jump over to the conclusion, The Spy, and we're going to see how this story wraps up. And I'll see you over there. Okay, you guys, so this video is super long, but I just wanted to hop on really quickly and give you my thoughts on The Spy, which is the final book in the Kingmaker series, and I gotta tell you, Sophie Lark is a freaking genius. It is so masterful and so wonderful, and it is divulged to you who the spy is, and you understand why you needed to read the Underworld, the first 2 books in the Underworld series, because everything is really coming together in a culmination. I don't want to spoil it for you. It is so good and so fabulous that you are just going to be over the moon, and Sophie Lark is going to be up there in terms of your favorite writers. Like, I was thinking about this and I was like, this rivals, like, I haven't read a mafia romance that was this good since Cora Riley's The Twisted and the Camorra Chronicles. Like, I'm telling you, like, this just rivals like authors that have been writing for a very, very long time. You get introduced to a new character, and you have a whole new incoming class, so you get to see more of the Griffins and the Gallows. They're there. You see fierce female characters, you see alpha heroes, you see old rivals being settled, debts being paid, notes coming due, secrets revealed, you know, everything sort of coming together in this crescendo of an amazing conclusion to this story that's so fabulous and so wonderful. It is an absolute 5 out of 5 star. It is terrific. I cannot say enough about this series. It's one of my favorites, absolutely. And you won't be disappointed, and you will be surprised, and you'll be taken, like, sort of taken aback, and you didn't see it coming. Maybe some of it you saw coming, maybe some of it you didn't see coming, and I'm being very cryptic because I think, you know, you need to go into it blind, right? Like, it's the spy, so there's hiding, there's lying, there's secrets, there's pretending being one thing and really being something else, and who's who, and how all the little pieces connect together, and those pieces are coming together seamlessly in this book. So, you guys, this is an absolute phenomenal series. If you haven't read it, if I haven't convinced you after this point, I don't know what will, but you really should go and check it out. So that is all that I have for today. You guys know that I upload new videos 3 times a week, preferably Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So click the like bell and click the notification button so that you can be notified every time I upload a new video. But I look forward to seeing you in my next video. I'll see you later, guys. Bye.